The oldest ghost living in Anderson County can be found at Hunter's store in Pendleton.
Everybody was gone and I was at the office alone. Well, there's only 3 of us to begin with, but when I was there alone, I heard what sounded like a box of something heavy, like books or something that sounded like that, fell off a shelf, scattered across the floor, and then I heard running footsteps. And I thought, well, there's nobody up there as far as I know. I wonder if it's an animal or what's going on. So I went upstairs to see what it was, and nothing was out of place, and there was nothing going on. And I thought, that's really weird. So when the other ones got back and I told them about what had happened and what I heard, they looked uncomfortable at each other and said, well, the building's haunted and we hadn't told you yet. And so it seems like everyone that's ever worked there has had a similar experience of hearing footsteps or some kind of noises going on upstairs when no one's up there. And it's not just creaky noises, it's definitely sounds like definite footsteps and that sort of thing. And we asked a gentleman who was one of the Hunter family members, the Hunter store, and he lived to be 102. And when he was in his late 90s, we finally had sense enough to ask him if he knew if the building was haunted. And he not only knew it was, he knew who it was and the story behind it. And he told us that the second floor had been where the research room was, had been a caretaker's apartment. It had a fireplace in it, and that once in May in the 1890s, there was a gentleman that was friends with the Hunter boys, and that he got drunk, fell off his horse in the creek down the hill behind the store. They took him to the store and put him to bed in the caretaker's room. That they left him in his wet clothes overnight, and they had one of those cold snaps like you do in late spring sometime. And when they checked on him the next morning, he was dead from being, like they said, he froze to death, but of course I'm sure he wasn't frozen solid. And that's who haunts the building. And to prove it, there's a couple of places on the door frame going into that room that have not been painted over, because it's written in pencil on the door frame is the notation "very cold" and a date in May in 1896. And so there's, like I said, everyone that's ever worked there has heard him or seen him. And I know 3 or 4 other people that have seen him through the years, and I saw him once.
So, Hunter's store lately, we had a little ghost encounter happen, and 2 employees that were there, nobody was there. Les McCall had left with a couple of people. They were running some shelves or something over to another site, and they were downstairs working at the front desk, Miss Rhonda and Miss Jessica, and all of a sudden, they both heard just banging noises, like stuff was just falling on the floor upstairs and like flying off the shelves and just banging the floor. And they just heard bang, 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 like for about like 30 seconds. And so Miss Rhonda was like, looked over to Jessica and she was like, do you think that they're okay? And Miss Jessica was like, nobody's up there. And Miss Rhonda was like, yeah, Les is up there. And she was like, no, they left about 15 minutes ago. And so Jessica went up there and she said she saw nothing on the floor. But she said it just sounded like wind was just knocking everything down. But everything was fine. So that's our latest little ghost story from Hunter's store.